cousin wore my engagement ring to seduce my fiancé at the family picnic. I found my engagement ring on my cousin's finger before I found it missing from my own hand. That's how I knew something was wrong. Not the whispers, not the way my fiancé stopped meeting my eyes. The ring. My grandmother's ring, sitting on Chelsea's finger like it had always belonged there. If you enjoy stories like this, hit subscribe, because trust me, it gets so much worse before it gets better. My name is Rachel. I'm 32, and 3 years ago, I thought I had the perfect life mapped out. I worked as a pediatric nurse in Denver. I had my own condo I'd saved 8 years for, and I had my Aunt Diane, my mother's younger sister, who'd basically raised me after my parents divorced when I was 9. Aunt Diane was the one who taught me to drive, who sat with me through every heartbreak, who told me, "Rachel, you don't need a man to complete you. You need a man who doesn't try to erase you." I should have listened harder. Then I met Marcus. Marcus Chen was 35, ran his own architecture firm, drove a black Audi, and had this smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We met at a charity gala for the children's hospital where I worked. He donated $20,000 that night without blinking. 6 months later, he proposed on a rooftop in Aspen with a 2-carat ring that had been my grandmother's. I'd given it to him to have reset, and he surprised me by proposing with it early, before it was even resized. I cried for an hour. Aunt Diane didn't cry. She hugged me, congratulated me, and then, 3 days later, over coffee, she said quietly, "Rachel, honey, I don't like how he talks to the waiter. I don't like how he corrected you twice at dinner about things you clearly knew." I laughed it off. "That's just Marcus, Aunt Diane. He's particular." I wish I'd asked her what else she saw. The first year was intoxicating. Marcus took me to Napa, bought me a Cartier bracelet for our 6-month anniversary, wrote me handwritten notes and left them on my pillow. My friends called us relationship goals. My cousin Chelsea, 2 years younger than me, single and always a little too interested in whatever I had, started coming around more. "You two are so cute," she'd say, but there was something behind her eyes I didn't want to name. The cracks started small. Marcus didn't like when I worked late shifts. "I just miss you, is that so wrong?" He didn't like my scrubs, said they made me look unprofessional, even though I was a nurse. He started commenting on my weight, always disguised as concern. "I just want you healthy, babe." Small, deniable. The kind of thing you explain away to yourself at 11 at night while he sleeps beside you. By month 14, he'd convinced me to move into his house instead of keeping my condo. Why pay 2 mortgages when we're getting married anyway? I sold it. 6 months of equity, gone into his name because his lawyer said it was more efficient that way. My friend Priya asked me once, "Rachel, does he ever apologize for anything?" And I realized he didn't. He explained, he justified, but he never said the actual words, "I'm sorry." The isolation happened so gradually I didn't clock it as isolation. Girls' nights became, "Why do you need to go? I never see you." Family dinners became, "Your family doesn't really like me, have you noticed?" He wasn't wrong that Aunt Diane was cool toward him, but he'd twisted it into me needing to defend him instead of question him. I saw my aunt maybe once a month by year 2. I saw my old friends almost never. The first real incident happened 18 months in. I'd made plans to go to Priya's birthday dinner. Marcus said he didn't want me to go. Some clients were coming for dinner and he needed me there. I went to Priya's anyway. I came home at 10 to find he'd locked the door and changed the code. I stood on the porch in November, in a dress, for 40 minutes, texting him, before he finally opened it. He didn't yell. He just looked at me and said, "I hope it was worth it." and walked away. 2 days later, flowers, a weekend trip to Sedona. I overreacted. I love you so much. I was scared of losing you. The calm lasted almost a month that time. The second incident, 8 months later, he grabbed my wrist hard enough to bruise when I tried to leave a party early. The calm after that lasted 2 weeks. The third time, he threw a wine glass at the wall near my head during an argument about my work hours. Calm lasted 4 days. Each time the explosion got sharper. Each time the peace got shorter. I told myself I was managing him. I didn't understand yet that I was disappearing. Then came the wedding planning, and with it, the ticking clock. My Uncle Frank, Aunt Diane's husband, was being deployed back overseas for 6 months starting in July, and everyone wanted the wedding done before he left, meaning the wedding was pushed up to June, just 3 months away. Everything sped up. Vendor deposits, dress fittings, and Chelsea inserting herself into every single detail, helping with seating charts, helping pick out Marcus's tux, always finding reasons to be alone with him, for wedding stuff. The turning point came on a Tuesday. I'd forgotten my phone charger and came home early from a shift. Marcus's phone was on the counter and a message preview lit up the screen. Chelsea. Can't stop thinking about Saturday. We need to be more careful next time. My hands went cold. I didn't say anything that night. I called Aunt Diane instead, and for the first time in 2 years, I told her everything. The locked door, the bruised wrist, the wine glass, all of it. She didn't say, "I told you so." She said, "Get somewhere safe. I'm coming to get you tomorrow and we're going to figure this out together." That was the moment my hero stepped fully into the story. Aunt Diane, it turned out, had been quietly documenting things for over a year. Dates, photos of my bruises Priya had sent her out of worry, screenshots of Marcus's cold, controlling texts my friend had shown her. She'd also, without telling me, hired a private investigator after her own gut told her something was wrong with the ring being resized so quickly by his guy instead of a proper jeweler. What the investigator found broke the case wide open. Marcus had been quietly transferring money from a joint account he'd pressured me to open, nearly $60,000 over 18 months, into an account under Chelsea's name. He'd also proposed to a previous girlfriend 3 years earlier with a different family heirloom ring, one that mysteriously went missing during their breakup and was never returned. This wasn't chaos. This was a pattern. The family picnic was 2 weeks before the wedding, a small gathering at Aunt Diane's lake house that Chelsea insisted on attending, even though tensions between us had gotten strange. I remember the sound of the grill, kids laughing near the dock, the smell of charcoal and sunscreen. And then I saw it. Chelsea, laughing with Marcus by the cooler, twirling a ring on her finger that caught the light exactly like my grandmother's diamond. My ring. The one I'd taken off 2 days earlier to have a loose prong checked, that Marcus had insisted on taking to his guy himself. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked over, calm as still water, and asked Chelsea to see her ring. She hesitated just half a second too long before handing it over. It was mine. Diane appeared beside me exactly on cue, phone already recording, folder of evidence already in her bag. She'd been waiting for this exact moment of exposure to lay it all on the table in front of the entire family. Diane laid it out in front of everyone. The $60,000, the missing ring from his ex, the pattern, the messages. Marcus tried to spin it, tried his charm, tried to call me unstable in front of my own family the way he always had behind closed doors. But the evidence didn't care about his smile. My Uncle Frank, ex-military, stood between Marcus and the door and said one sentence. "You're going to leave, and you're never going to contact her again." Chelsea sobbed that it just happened, as if 2 years of texts just happen. I called off the wedding that night. I hired a lawyer the next morning, a friend of Diane's who specialized in exactly these situations. We froze the joint accounts before Marcus could drain anything further. Because I could prove coercive financial control, I recovered $41,000 of the $60,000 within 4 months. The condo equity I'd lost was gone for good, but I didn't need it anymore. I moved in with Aunt Diane while I rebuilt. Chelsea was quietly cut out of every family gathering. 2 years later, I heard through a cousin that Marcus had left her too, for someone new, taking a chunk of her savings with him on his way out. Karma doesn't always announce itself, but sometimes it whispers exactly what you needed to hear. As for me, 18 months after that picnic, I sold my grandmother's ring, the one that had been dragged through all of it, and used the money to put a down payment on a small house of my own, fully in my name this time. I went back to school part-time for my nurse practitioner license, and last spring, at a hospital fundraiser of all places, I met someone, a pediatric surgeon named David, who, on our third date, asked what my non-negotiables were and actually listened to the answer.